So, Caligula's Carnival of Cannibalistic Carnage. It's never found in the same place for very long. Whether that's moved by Caligula himself or done something by the guests, we don't quite understand to get in here. But there are some things, some rules we think that'll help guide people through it if they happen to find it in their city. So the price to get into the carnival can vary wildly, but the most common price is just a drop of blood. Some people have more blood asked of them. Others are refused to be let in, regardless of the amount of blood offered. My grandmother used to go in as a little girl, but she's no longer welcome in. So she sometimes sends me inside to do business on her behalf. The outermost circle, which we'll just call the first circle, is the safest area. Here there are classic carnival games and classic carnival prizes, all at classic whole carnival prices. Overcharged, very overcharged. Here you can throw rings at bottles, win a stuffed animal, but at a few stalls the animals are still moving and may still be moving even if you take them home. Here you can see the Carnival Barkers and the workers, but never speak to them directly about anything except the game you want to play. They all came here to forget something. Forcing them to remember is a cruel act that cannot be done, and they will not forget you. If you follow the path deeper into the carnival, like the spokes of a wheel, here you can get closer to the real prizes of the carnival. Here, the games are much pricier, but the prizes are much juicier. Here, you can find politicians and the wealthy of the exoteric world playing games for true prizes. Games that cost thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to play. But the prizes were things like gold by the stone, not by the ounce, claims in the infinite forest, Harmonia's necklace, deeds to uranium mines, or in some cases even deeds to entire private towns or cities. Every prize that was offered here was once someone else's wager, offered to the carnival to try and win something else, but then lost by them. Others were given away to the carnival with the hope that the carnival would rid them of the curse. But Caligula doesn't take curses away, he only gives them. But still, the wealthy, or the desperate, can be seen here, where they're willing to give up a lot, but hopeful to receive more. But still, these are merely physical things. The true prizes of the carnival are even deeper inside. In the third circle of the carnival is where things are truly dangerous. While in the first circle you may get harmed by guests, but it's rare. In the second circle you can truly harm yourself. In the third circle is where the workers can hurt you. Here, the stalls and the game are much more dangerous, where you don't pay the price until you are done with the game. This doesn't seem dangerous until you realize just how much people are willing to play. A drop of blood doesn't seem like that much, especially if you don't have to pay until after you're done. But a drop of blood for a game of blackjack with a $5 buy-in isn't a high price at all. But when people pay drop after drop after drop, they may have very well gambled away their last drop of blood, still trying to seek that fortune from the cards. After all, one drop of blood for a $5 buy-in's not much. But how much are you going to win from a $5 buy-in? Would you give an extra drop for another $5? Or maybe another $5 after that? After all, surely you can give away 20 drops of blood and get 100, right? But the thing is, you don't always win, and you don't always lose. But when you're paying the same regardless, you don't know how much you've paid until you decided to leave. The carnival workers here have teeth that are too long and too sharp. You don't see it unless they are either trying to drain your blood or if they are smiling. They only smile just before they drain you. The only smart way to play in this section is to drain some of your own blood ahead of time and use it to play the games. But instead of that, people prefer to play it like it's a casino. thinking the worst that can happen is they are kicked out if they cannot pay. Here, those who cannot pay never get to leave. Still though, even in the third circle, the prizes, though great, are still not worth it. One could win $100 with a good hand and a drop of blood, but if you're here for money, you certainly have come to the wrong place. But there are still those who feel that they have no other choice, so they seek out this place. When I was young, and when I first came here, I wasn't allowed to play such gambling games. Apparently, even evil esoteric carnivals follow the legal gambling age. By the time I was old enough to play, I wasn't dumb enough to try. But still, there are levels even deeper. The fourth circle of the carnival has very few guests. More often than not, there are more workers than guests. These workers, desperate for a change in the routine, may be reasoned with. You may be able to get a slight discount on the games or prizes, or maybe just get the prize without the game. But here, slight doesn't mean much. Money has no value to the workers here. Blood isn't worth anything more than a tip to them, and they may get insulted with you just for trying to offer it to them. Here, the carnival is much less of a carnival and more of a market. Curios can be found, pens that never run out of ink, knives that never get bloody no matter what you cut, wines even distilled from the blood of common men, relics from futures that could never be, books written on subjects that don't exist anymore. All are prizes that can be purchased or won here. But think twice before paying such a high price. Many people offer a pound of flesh to the worker without thinking about specifying what pound of flesh they are offering. The lucky ones were left barely standing, now stuck trying to lob a ball through a hoop with a hole in their chest, all while trying to win a pencil that doesn't need to be sharpened. Here, I learned to occasionally do business. The workers here are so bored. If you specify what pound of flesh you want gone, and when you want it gone, they will oblige, sometimes giving you a prize without needing to play a game. Did you know that your hair counts as flesh in most of these markets? With hair like mine, a pound of hair is equivalent to almost a foot of hair. They're surprisingly good stylists here, but I'm almost certain that they only do this for me because I was curious enough to ask. I have heard of people offering a pound of their fat thinking it would help them lose weight. Sure, if some of the workers are cooperative, or if you're specific, you can certainly use this method to sell your weight loss. But be specific and be aware that if you anger the workers, they may take your fat from somewhere else. Did you know that nearly every neuron in your brain is protected by a thin sheath of fat to keep the cells working? Did you know that the workers here can remove all of that fat without cutting open your body? The prices are very high in this section of Caligula's carnival, but there's still even deeper to go. The fifth circle is the last circle you get to before the tent in the middle of the entire carnival. The guests almost never make it here, but here the workers are never bored. The area is thick with crowds, but almost none of them are human. Here, the games are long and the price is very high, and no one knows what price the workers will request until they get there. A game as simple as horseshoes will cost you an arm and a leg, or they may make 2 legs, or they may take 2 arms, or they may just ask for a hand. And unlike the third and fourth circles, they will take their payment up front, and they cannot be bargained with. If you choose to wait in their line, they will take their payment, even if you try to get out of line or try to convince them that you don't want to play anymore. They will take their price. Even if you only stand in their line for a moment and left, they will claim their cash. At this point, if you get in line, it's better to just play the game. Maybe you'll get lucky. The carnival is hungry and it hungers for meat, hence its name Carnival. It puts away meat. What the prizes are here, I cannot truly say. I suppose they must be good, if there is such a high price. But after years of returning, I have yet to find a single winner. And even my grandmother only knows of a single rumor of a single person winning these prizes. Caligula himself. The grounds here are thick with blood, but if you hunger at the carnival, this is the only place to get food. The food here is safe to eat, and it will be the best you've ever tasted. It'll even be cheap enough for pocket change to pay for. But if you find yourself hungering for a giant corn dog and want to eat it mere inches where someone was guillotined for wanting to play whack-a-mole, you may need to consider your life choices. The truly deepest part of the carnival is the tent at the center of it all. I have never been inside, but I've seen people wandering in all the time, and I see the ticket counter at the entrance. His face is painted black and white to make him resemble a skeleton. He takes the tickets from them, and every time the ticket is blood-stained. But I never see anywhere to buy a ticket. Somehow reminded of the old saying, if you have to ask what the cost is to do something, the cost is too high. My grandmother, on the other hand, had been on the inside of the carnival center tent. Just once. She told me that the stands were always full, even more crowded than the fifth circle. And in the center of the ring is the namesake of Carnival Caligula. Unlike the historical Caligula, he wasn't a collected man, and he didn't wear little boots. He stood tall in the center of the ring, with 4 columns made of wood, and each of these columns hung a single person, hanging by their hands. Despite being tied to the wood and naked, they were all covered in flammable resin. And when Caligula spoke, the lights went out and the figures were lit aflame. They would light and warm the entire tent, while Caligula went through with his performance. In the center ring were the guests unlucky enough to gamble away their entire bodies, where they were forced to fight each other. Changes were made upon the losers' bodies each time. They would be dragged away when dead, and they would be returned and altered. They would be given back limbs that weren't their own, or given extra limbs, eyes on their stomachs, or given extra heads so they can get an extra edge in the fight. This cycle of carnage would inevitably lead to the old winner being the new round's loser, and by the end of the 6th fight, they wouldn't be recognized anymore as human. My grandmother described one as being 30 feet tall and possessing wings made of human hands, and many mouths across its entire body, and how it tore away the eye stalks of a large spider, made entirely out of human arms, and eyes that were all screaming blood. At the end of the show, Caligula would enter into the ring, where he had a single spear carved with a relief of lightning across its length. And every time the monster would seek to strike Caligula out of bloodlust or anger, or possibly vengeance. And every time Caligula would strike the beast in the heart before it got close to killing it. Now, the warnings of the carnival. The first and foremost is to leave before the carnival closes. Any guests who don't leave have to stay. Another rule is don't talk to the other guests, not even if they try to talk to you. Most of them are normal, as you and I, but not every guest managed to escape the carnival. They became what we like to call the shills, or stooges. Their job is to win the games and convince other guests that the games are safer than they are. They are all lacking a heart of their own, so they cannot leave the carnival. But if they realize that you are not like them, They may decide to get you alone and take your heart for themselves. It won't get them out, but they still try every time, desperate for any lead to get out. Another important rule is beware the clowns. The carnival has security of its own. The clowns are made to look like performers because it allows them to blend easier. But like many other things in the carnival, they are not what they appear to be. That makeup is their skin. And their smiles hide their true mouths. Their mouths hide in their chest, splitting vertically and dripping digestive juices as soon as it opens, much like a starfish. The clowns aren't paid normally, but any troublemakers they find, they get to eat. So best not to give them any reason to seek you out. They don't necessarily need a reason, but still, just stay away from them. They do have a bit of a soft spot for children, usually letting them go without more than a stern talking to. But whether because this is out of care for the children, or because children aren't worth eating, is unknown. Another rule is don't steal from the carnival workers. Those goods that look unguarded are nothing more than a honey trap. You never know when an empty stand that is made to look like the inside of a monster's mouth, with an entire wall of teddy bears, is really just an empty stand, or if it's actually a mouth waiting for something to stand in it. Don't try to call the police. The carnival doesn't move, but the entrance changes all the time. By the time the police arrive at the location, the entrance will be gone. And any guest who didn't manage to get out in time will be trapped forever. Some people think this is why the carnival does move. Simply because it just reaches a point where someone called the police, so they escaped. Others take this as a sign of hope, that if the carnival is trying to escape and does respond to threats, that there are threats. But I still advise against calling the police. Last thing you want to do is trap innocents inside. Another and very important rule is if you do manage to find the carnival, you should never enter it. This is not a place of honor, and it is best to be shunned and forgotten. As long as people keep going in, desperate to be the one who is smart enough to win the game, someone who thinks they can trick Caligula to give them something that they truly desire without consequences, or they think that they can use the carnival to trap something dangerous, you're not going to make it. Trust me, there have been many other people who've tried the same thing. People stronger, smarter, and better, wealthier, and every other thing you can imagine was tried with the carnival before, and it had not succeeded. That's actually why my grandmother is no longer welcome in the carnival. She managed to use the carnival to trap something much worse than herself. And though Caligula was able to spare it in the heart, she created far more damage in the carnival than she was worth. So they never allowed her to enter again. Why they did that instead of trying to take her flesh, I don't know. But I'm too scared to ask. And finally, my last real piece of advice. If you're seeking something worthwhile, such as a real curio or something else of true value, don't come to the carnival. Everything here was taken from the guests who came before you. Not merely the gold and the property deeds to uranium, but the leather that makes up the tent, the light and durable pale wooden frames, and even the clothes on the carnival workers' backs are all made from what was taken from the guests before. Anything that is this successful at using all of its prey is not a predator you should try to outsmart. It's been around for centuries and it's only grown. And more people are just going to keep wandering in. Don't try to walk into a cave hoping for the dragon's gold. Its gold is taken from those who had tried to take it before. And have you ever wondered why the dragon's hoard is so large? Yes, stay away from Caligula's Carnival of Cannibalistic Carnage.